All right.
Hi, this is Josh with the Recklessly Skeptical podcast, welcoming you here today. Today is November 8th, 2015. And we wanted to start by thanking Steve Shives, and he's a YouTuber if you don't know who he is. So if you search Steve Shives on YouTube, you will find him. And we also want to welcome the new subscribers and followers who have come over because of him. Hi, guys.
Hey, thanks, guys. This is Matt.
This is Joe, and I love all you new people. I love people, especially new people. That's because I'm a slut.
And this is Josh. So let's tell them where they can find us.
You can find us on YouTube at ZZ Giant Awake.
ZZZ.
There's 3 Z's.
Is there like triple X, right? Triple Z?
Triple Z, Giant Awake. The Evil Atheist. And you can find this podcast on YouTube, Recklessly Skeptical. And you can find us on Spreaker, Recklessly Skeptical.
We're awesome.
And you can also find us on Facebook at the Evil Atheist Facebook group page. All right, so we also are welcoming a guest, Derek. Do you want to say hi, Derek?
Hello, everyone.
So Derek is, we're having him on the podcast today, especially for the second segment to talk about the new rules that Mormons came out with in respect to into Mormon same-sex relations and the children thereof, which we'll get into a lot more detail there. So hang around for the second segment as well. So...
All right.
Matt, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sorry, I was getting to the news article. So we wanted to talk about the downed Russian plane that exploded over Egypt, and there's some new news coming out that at least the U.S. officials are saying they're 99% certain that it was likely ISIS. I know some of us here have different views on it.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily... I don't think that they've proven that it's ISIS. I think that it's at least ISIS sympathizers, and easily you could say it's terrorists.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's what America media does and America politicians, you know. Like, they're like... They see that something was done by a terrorist organization. The first thing they do is they go, which one's the most popular one right now? Oh, it's ISIS. It was ISIS! You know?
They're using those two terms interchangeably when one is just a terrorist organization, the other one's the umbrella term of terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all terrorists fall under the term as terrorists. So we'll hopefully there's more news to come in regards to who did it and what the motive was and how they did it. Right now, there are no flights allowed from the Middle East to Russia because Putin made that decision. So, do you have anything else on this story you guys want to talk about?
There's not really much on CNN. Well, there's one thing here: ISIS chatter analyzed. So I'm sure it's the U.S. trying to put it on them, and maybe this is legitimate. I haven't read through it, but
so if the U.S.
I know
is
ISIS,
trying really hard to put it,
but I know ISIS
then it was
said
probably us.
ISIS
who
did come out and say it was them.
Yeah, I think
It was ISIS.
ISIS came out and said it was them, but
yeah,
that doesn't mean anything. They might have just wanted people to think it was them.
Well, it's like when someone commits a crime, you know, or a murder, there's usually like 5 or 10 guys who show up at the police station saying it was me. You know,
I don't think there's usually 5 or 10 guys who show up to a police station.
It happens all the time.
I'm sure it happens here and there.
I committed like 3 or 4 murders. 10 different people showed up at the police station saying it was them.
That's why you're not in jail, right?
Right? Yeah, because I was like, yeah, well, it was them.
So for anybody listening, Joe's joking, and he hasn't killed anybody, as far as I know of.
And that's fine, yeah. We can just leave it at that.
There is this questionable story around Matt, though, but we won't dive into that.
Well, he is a vet.
Yeah.
And so is the guy who's missing.
So let's move on from that story and talk about Bernie Sanders for a minute. So there were 2 big bills that he introduced that I think are worth talking about. And one of the things that kind of pisses me off is that besides on CNN, there was nothing else that there was no other media organization, any of the major media organizations that covered it. He introduced 2 bills. One was the environmental bill called Leave It in the Ground, where we leave all coal and oil that's under government land, we leave it where it is.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's actually a pretty big deal. Like, it's not a big deal on Capitol Hill or in the news, but it has a huge effect. That's
to combat,
Environmentally.
to combat climate change. I think it's
Yeah.
very important, and it's kind of sad. The second bill was for marijuana, and I think that's awesome, but it's kind of sad that that's the one getting all the notoriety, and nobody has said anything really about the environmental bill.
Yeah, because it's not sexy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the second bill that he introduced, which is it's a decriminalization law for marijuana, which makes it not illegal on the federal level anymore, meaning that states can then decide whether it should be legal or not, and wouldn't have any interference from the federal government on that at all.
Which is a good thing, because what you don't hear about right now, too, especially in like Colorado, where they have made marijuana legal even recreationally, is they're still getting raided by feds. So you don't hear about a lot of that. Like it's a medical place. People come in with ailments or whatever. They have a prescription. Let's say if it's not recreationally legal. So this is even there's more than 20 states right now that have medical marijuana legalized.
It's a high number. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it's a high number. I think it's more than half or close to half. And, a lot of these places, it's completely legal, medical marijuana. And so there's these patients, and they're sitting inside of the dispensary or whatever, waiting for their turn. They're about to see the dispenser. And, they're just sitting there waiting. Next thing you know, feds come rushing in. They just arrest everybody. They arrest the owners, the workers, the patients.
Well, a lot of the time they don't even make arrest. They take all the money, they take all the product, all the marijuana,
yeah.
and that's all they do. They
That's
just
weird
steal.
to me.
They steal all their shit and don't arrest
I
anybody.
think it's funny how our government will just steal drugs and money from the people.
Never give it back.
But they turn around and then they sell it themselves or do whatever. Like you hear about all the CIA agents that were selling massive amounts of cocaine and all that stuff. It's funny. I swear to God, everything comes down basically to money. Money motivates. You look at the Mormon Church. You look at anything. It's motivated by money.
Yeah, definitely. So I do also want to put out a hypothesis. I don't think either of these bills are going to pass. I don't think either of them are going to make it through the Senate. So why would Bernie then put those in, one might ask? And I think that my hypothesis is that Bernie Sanders is now trying to be more aggressive with his campaign. I think he's trying to show the American people, this is why you should vote for me. This is what will happen if you put me in office, is that I will make sure that these bills get put through and are introduced and have a good chance of passing. And I mean, in both of these bills are places where Hillary Clinton won't deliver on those.
Of course not, because Hillary Clinton is, like, as we discussed last time, is just part of the machine. She's getting all these big donations from the same people who was given Bush donations, who was given Obama donations, who was given Ronald Reagan donations. Like, they're all the same people to me. If you're getting big donations, whether you're Republican or Democrat, by the same people, you're getting big donations by the same people. Once you're in office, you are going to start doing favors for those people.
And the
Which makes you no difference than a Republican or a Democrat.
And the one thing too, like Josh said, I don't think these bills will pass, especially the marijuana one. And the sad thing is, more than half of the American people want marijuana legalized. I think it's around 60%.
Yeah.
And that's pretty sad. You can look at our Congress and our politicians, where over half of the American people want something to pass, and it doesn't stand a chance.
Well,
the bill doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, and Princeton, sorry, my mic's starting to kind of mess up. Princeton just released a study, and basically what it says is 90% of the people, the rest of us, whether we want a bill to pass or not. So let's say 100% of all of us want a bill to pass. There's a 30% chance Congress will pass it. Let's say none of us want it to pass. There's still a 30% chance that it will pass.
It's all
That's
about the
because
lobbyists.
It's all about the lobbyists and the money. Congress does not care about the people. And this is a Princeton study that they just released. They were like, yeah, Congress doesn't care. Nobody cares. The only people Congress listens to are the people with the money and the top 10%, the top 1%, or whatever. If they want something to pass, it'll pass. If they don't, it won't.
And that's why Bernie Sanders is awesome. Can you imagine another presidential candidate pushing a bill like this?
Well,
Any
see-
of them.
see,
it's
and that's
it's
the-
completely
Yeah,
unrealistic.
And that's the thing. Bernie Sanders isn't taking money from these top 10% of people who want things to pass. He's only taking money from the little guys like the rest, all of us, the 90% of us. And he's trying to get bills passed for us. And so that's my problem when I see people falling for these news stories and everything, all this propaganda about how Hillary's blah, 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 and Ben Carson this, and this dumbass that, and this dumbass this. You know what I mean? It's stupid. They're all the same people. Bernie Sanders, I don't think he's like the rest of them because he's not taking money from the elites. He's not taking money from the top people. He's taking money from people like us, and he wants to get things that we want passed.
Yeah.
So why not vote for the guy? You know, why can't we get someone like us in there right now? You know, but then the news stations and the media, like the top 3 media corporations, which also donate money to your politicians, which they won't tell you, will only cover the people they're donating money to.
Yeah.
And so they completely ignore people like Bernie Sanders. They
Yeah.
completely ignore him. Because they don't have money invested in him because he wouldn't take the money.
Yeah, and so I want to also emphasize to anybody who's listening, these are not rhetorical questions that Joe's asking. If we want real feedback from you, if you disagree with what Joe's saying or what we're saying, please, if you're on YouTube, leave something in the comments section. If you're on Spreaker, join the Evil Atheist on Facebook, and you can do it there, or you can even comment directly on Spreaker with your Facebook account.
Can I say something too real quick?
Yeah. And then
Please don't ignorantly follow your political party like an ignorant Christian would follow his church. Don't do it.
that's a challenge from Joe.
That's a challenge for me.
Or,
Thank you.
or stupid articles like this one here that just posted a few hours ago. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton at her worst would be better than than the GOP candidate. Just ridiculous stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So, and we gotta, for time consideration, we gotta move forward.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to Ben Carson. Yay.
Yeah, so
Such a crazy guy.
yeah, but he's really softly spoken.
Well,
Well, I think people like him because he has, like he's soft spoken. He's a good looking black guy. He's got that. People love it.
Yeah,
Did you guys see the picture that he has hanging up in his house?
No.
It's fucking creepy.
What is it?
It's a painting. He's sitting there, and Jesus is standing behind him, like hugging him.
Oh,
He is.
is this real?
Yeah.
Can I Google this right now?
Yeah, Google it.
I want to
This
go on my
actually-
laptop.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
and what I'll do is since we can't use the picture because it's probably copyright written.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll take a picture of me and Joe recreating that scene, and we'll use that as the picture for this particular segment.
I'm down
All
with that. Ben Carson, Jesus painting.
Yep.
It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of crazy ass beliefs, including creationism,
Images.
divine assistance, and pyramids. So, Joe,
So-
you've listened to him talk about creationism, right?
That is kind of weird. They're both wearing white, and oh my
So,
god.
and is Jesus black or is he white in the picture?
He looks like a white man, but his complexion is it's even actually darker than Ben Carson's.
So it's probably more accurate than
Than any Christian.
Christian
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
But he does look like the regular Jesus.
In,
But just dark. Way dark. Even darker than Ben Carson.
in Mormon churches, Jesus is most absolutely and definitely white.
Well, what do the Mormons say about Jesus? What's
Oh well, about people in general that
White and delightsome.
Yeah, it was about the Nephites whose complexity was changed into white and delightsome complexity. But yeah, so his crazy beliefs, and I mean, getting back to Ben Carson's crazy ass beliefs. I mean, have you heard about Ben Carson talking about creationism?
No, I've heard things here and there, and it's so crazy that I don't really pay attention to it because
kind of shuts off.
my
right?
brain shuts off. It's like, oh my god, and it just like beep, don't listen.
Yeah, he's full blown creationist, like Ken Ham creationist style.
6,000 years ago,
yeah.
the Earth was created.
Oh, yeah.
Evolution's a lie.
Even though we have proof that some trees are 10,000 years old
No,
still.
those trees were born already 4,000 years old.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Oh, so Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They were
So
created.
before time existed,
God
they
made 'em
were
4,000
they
years
already
old.
had an age,
Yeah, God can do anything. He can
That's-
make it. He can make it 4,000 years old.
and that's a
Yeah.
test, right? We're being tested.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all a test.
Thanks, Derek. I appreciate it.
And
I'm gonna go to church.
And so he also has this story about how, and I'll have to link this in the description because it's so fascinating about how he feels like he was about to fail chemistry in as an undergrad, and how he passed it is he was so badly behind that even if he got 100% on the test he would fail. But then his professor was like, "Oh, we'll do double credit on the test if it might make you pass," which is like so asinine. Like, why would you ever pass a student that can't do chemistry if that's the goal of the class? You want to have doctors out there who don't know chemistry, but it's just another example. Like, if he runs into a problem, he probably prays about it, even if it takes great technical expertise. And also he talks about, when I did my video on my channel ZZZ Giant Awake about him, he also talked about how he felt that when he did the conjoined twins that were conjoined at the brain, that he prayed and went into some fucking trance while he was doing the
surgery.
yeah.
That's
So
scary.
what? His hand was
It's guided by God.
guided by a divine hand.
Yes.
Is that what he was basically saying?
Yeah, it
Yes.
wasn't his years of training.
Or
So
anything
couldn't
like that?
anybody do it then?
Yeah.
Well,
like,
then,
why go to
obviously-
school?
Yeah, why go to school? You know,
gotta
why
try hard.
why get an education if anybody could pray to God and be divinely guided by Him?
I mean, the next time, somebody has cancer or something, I'll just tell them to come over here and we'll just...
We'll sit down, we'll pray, and your cancer will go away.
No, no.
because-
Well, no, we'll pray and then I'll cut them open and stuff.
Oh, okay. You'll do a surgery.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of? Yeah, I mean, like if. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like, why didn't you just pray, Ben Carson? Did you really have to do the surgery? Couldn't have God just came down and miraculously separated their brains? Come on, Ben.
Makes me
Don't
wonder if he
be
does that in-
stupid. Yeah, you were in a trance because guess what? All of the information that you learned throughout the years while you were going to school and you were studying kicked in. And yes, you were in a trance. And none of it was religious. None of it was godlike.
No.
You were just, your brain was going back to all the information it learned in school.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was in a trance. I think he's a teller of tall tales, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But,
Yeah.
Let's talk about the pyramids.
The pyramids.
Oh, no.
Oh,
So-
this is something else of his,
so
right?
Yeah.
I watched a video, and it's a few years old, and it's him saying, I have a theory about the pyramids, that Joseph built them to store grains.
This is the Joseph with the rainbow coat, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And
Do you
I
think
mean,
Joseph
we
may
know
have been
why.
gay?
We know why the pyramids were built. It was for the pharaohs.
Yeah.
They were tombs, and the pyramids are not hollow. They're like tiny little pathways and traps and little tiny tombs. Like, you wouldn't be able to store that much grain in there.
Yeah.
And it
You
would have
could
been
build
hard
a
because there's
silo 10 times smaller than the pyramid and probably get more grains in it
Yeah.
than you would the pyramid.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so he obviously, in my mind, I think that he has to live in either some kind of fantasy land, or he likes to play things up. And he's had a chance to review his beliefs. Like, he's not new to the idea of creationism and evolution, but he obviously is telling the story of creationism because it serves his purpose better.
Well, exactly. I think he's probably just playing along just to get votes.
Yeah, so he...
And so he's saying some of the dumbest things anybody could say, and he knows half of the United States will vote for him because of it.
You might be
And I'm
giving him too
sorry,
much credit.
like there are a lot of idiots in the United States that believe a lot of stupid things. And
Yeah.
hey, if you can play and tickle those guys, they'll just vote for you.
Yeah, and he's written a number of books, and in some of these books, he's now being vetted. Like, when you become a presidential candidate, you have to expect that things you write down, and most presidents have written a book, are going to get checked.
Oh yeah, well definitely.
And I think that he was so used to being able to tell whatever story he wanted to for so long that he's continuing to do so, but now it's kind of coming back and biting him in the ass.
Well, he's being held accountable now for the things that he's said.
Yeah, so let me give the three examples that I wanted to cover on that. And we only have about 10 more minutes left in this segment, so
Okay.
we'll have to burn through them pretty quick. So he talked about a scholarship offer from West Point. In his childhood, he claims that he got into a few different exchanges, including one where he was going to beat his mom with a hammer, and another one where he stabbed a friend. But the only reason he didn't successfully stab him is because his friend had a large belt buckle. And also,
It's not where you stab someone. By the way.
It's like right out of a movie.
And so he was called into question on these two things because West Point. Do either of you two know more about West Point than I do?
It's a military.
It is a
private
military
school, correct?
Yeah, but I don't know much about it, but I know it's a military school for officers.
Well, so there's no such thing as a scholarship to West Point because if you get into West Point, you're paid for by the government.
Oh, okay.
It's like a military position. So there's no such thing as a scholarship to West Point. So he's then changed his story around. And the other thing is when he talked about this childhood violence, he gave specific stories with specific names. And then he changed those names once they started vetting him because they started looking into his childhood. And first off, he didn't live in a ghetto. He lived in a suburban area. But he claimed that the idea of the story is that he was in the ghetto and he was a troubled youth. And then he had this come to Jesus moment. And then he became like this outstanding Christian.
Yeah.
All of the people he talked to from his childhood, they couldn't tell you what these stories came from or who he tried to stab or who he got in a fight with. And they always described his character as always being a shy, quiet kid, like with no violent history. So when CNN digs this and they start asking him questions, he's getting pissed off. Instead of saying, well, yeah, I changed the names, and he does say that. I changed the names to protect people, but he's not giving out information that can be verified.
Yeah. And so, it makes him look bad. I mean, if you're going to run for president and you understand a lot of these things are going to come to light, half the things you say better be true. And if they're not, you know what? Tell the truth. Say that they are not true.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think this is like what sounds impressive to my Christian friends.
And I think that's what a lot of the GOP candidates do. I mean, I think a lot of them really are that crazy and about their Christian beliefs, but I also think a lot of them don't believe it that far, and they're just doing it to appeal to their base.
Yeah, they're getting votes.
Yeah,
they're getting votes. They'll tell fibs to get votes. They'll pray to, you know what? In 100 years, let's say the flying spaghetti monster takes off, and there's a couple of crazies that believe that it's real, and they start following them, and they create or go off from this make-believe religion that a lot of us atheists have, and create like a real religion from it. In 100 years, let's say the majority of the United States believe in the flying spaghetti monster. All of our politicians are going to be like, well, in my childhood, the flying spaghetti monster visited me in my bed, and his little noodly appendage tickled my belly button, and it was one of the most amazing. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, he tickled his belly button. He's getting my vote. He's the man of the people. Because I wish the flying spaghetti monster would tickle my belly. It's
tickle my butt.
You know, they just know what people like, and so that's all they do is they say what they think the people want to hear. And that's why I like, again, Bernie Sanders, because he's actually trying to appeal to the masses, the critical thinking, the logical side of us, not the
things that would actually help us.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm going to force us to move forward, except I think that it's worth pointing out the irony, because he says, oh, you guys never vetted our current president.
What?
Yeah.
I just want to say
Oh
birth
my God.
certificate.
Yeah.
Birth certificate.
There's
right?
the whole birther movement. But now we need to move to the secular story
Okay.
with 6 minutes left.
Okay, so everybody remembers we talked about it last week about the football coach in, I believe it was Washington, that wouldn't stop praying after the school district told him he needed to stop praying. And so here's a blog written by Zach Hunt, and Zach Hunt talked to a parent whose name is Eric, who has a few kids that go to that school, and we want to read a letter that Eric wrote.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to remind you guys, we were pretty...
Because we weren't sure exactly what was going on.
we weren't certain
in the situation.
and I feel like we were pretty fair to him and tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. But
Okay.
I'm going to let Matt take over again.
So here's the letter, and I'm going to read it verbatim. So I live in Bree Merton and have 3 kids in the school district. There are a couple of things I thought you might want to know that add to what you were saying. One of the biggest is that this is a very poor school district. We have 58.9% of the kids on free or reduced lunches. In Washington State, that is really on the edge and in poverty.
That in a lot of places, that's really on the edge and poverty.
We have many homeless kids. We have very little money for our schools. The state Supreme Court has said the legislator needs to fund it better, but they have not. We no longer have full-time librarians in the elementary schools, for example. In the middle of this comes Coach Kennedy. He is not a full-time employee at the school. He is a full-time employee at a naval shipyard. He in only less than part-time as an assistant coach. This is not his livelihood. After repeatedly being asked to stop doing what he is doing and it being explained to him that we couldn't afford a lawsuit from a parent, he then went to a Texas organization to get free legal help to sue us.
Really?
If
So
this-
he's trying to sue a poor school.
Yeah,
Yes.
let Matt finish.
If he goes to federal court, this will cost all the children in the district because of his selfish and prideful desire to proclaim his piety in public. This will not be a small expense to defend. He is going to be directly hurting poor children.
So we've got 3 minutes to kind of, or 2 minutes to kind of rant on this. But yeah, really, he's a fuck
So
nut.
that's why the school did what they did.
I
Yes.
mean, yes, you really don't want a teacher praying like that,
Yeah.
just in general. And just to add insult to injury, yeah, it's a poor school. And if they get sued, it's going to cost all these problems. And now he's suing them.
Yeah.
So they were afraid to get sued, but now his dumbass is suing them.
Yeah. So right there, it shows you what kind of person he is. He's trying to take money from a school that can barely even feed the kids.
in a situation that he's created in the first fucking place.
Yeah.
Where
God,
he-
what a fucking prick.
And-
it's like that. I love science. They just released an article, or someone else released a couple of news stations. They're talking about how non-religious kids have a lot more empathy than religious people, and that kind of shows it right there. He's religious. He thinks his religion is the best, and it deserves to have a voice.
And it's number one over everything.
And it's number one over everything. And so they're like, no, we can't afford a lawsuit. We got to think about the kids. And so he turns around and sues the people who say, we got to think about the kids. We can't afford this. So he fucking sues them. That's the thing. He cares more about his personal life and his whatever happens when he dies, his spiritual life, more than he cares about fucking poor kids getting a goddamn education.
And in the real world.
Fuck this guy, dude. Yeah, last time I think we gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, we were really nice to him.
Yeah, fuck him, dude. If I ever met him, I'd kick him in his nuts. What's his name again?
Coach Kennedy.
Coach Kennedy.
What a
If I
dick.
meet you, I'm kicking you in the nuts. And I'm a short, stocky guy, so it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Then pray to God about that bullshit.
And so we are against the wall on time, so let's wrap this segment up. But yeah, that guy, fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
All right, so we're going to go into the second segment of the story where we're talking about the changes that the LDS Church has made and the impact on the LGBTQ community here,
And their children.
and the children of them, and also to children of straight people. I mean, there's a huge impact from this, and it doesn't seem to make any sense, so we're going to talk about it. And also, hopefully you guys learned some things about some of the history of this issue in Utah. And was there anything else?
No, I just want to say again, thanks to Steve Shives for the shout out, and thanks to the new listeners.
That was really cool. We love you, and I love your beard.
Woohoo.
All right, take care.